Check out my new horns. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today, oh, it's such a good day. Today, we are doing the first engine mod on the F30. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am about doing this. I've had this car for almost 3 years and I had never touched the engine in 3 years, which is pretty incredible for someone like me who's such a car enthusiast. All of my cars were like heavily modded within the first week of owning them. So the fact that I've had this car for almost 3 years now and we haven't done anything to the engine is kind of astonishing. Basically with this car, I knew that I wanted to get the exterior done and the suspension and the brakes and everything on the outside finished before I got into like the meat of the car. It's like so hard to hold off for that long because like the most fun, like responsive modifications that you can do to a car are obviously in the engine bay. The first mod that we're doing is pretty, like the most basic engine mod that you can do, which is your intake. And I'm doing the MST performance intake. Huge shout out to Brian over at Keys Motorsports. You guys, I'm gonna put a link in the description so you can go buy your own MST performance intake, and I'm gonna do a before and after, the full install. I'm gonna give you everything, all the details in this video. So, but before we do any of that, you guys already know what needs to happen. Coffee. No coffee, no worky. All right, we have coffee in hands. I hadn't, since yesterday's video, I hadn't seen the car like outside of the garage since I washed it. It's so clean. Oh my gosh. I almost like don't want to drive it because it's so clean. We're gonna step out of the car here in a minute. I'm just gonna show you how clean it is. Also, front end Friday. How do you drive a car like that? It's like all the way down to the subframe and the radiator. Sir, your front end is missing. It's like ever since I put the paddle shifting into the car, it's just a different driving experience. Like it's so much more exciting to drive the car. And I think that the engine mods are just gonna only enhance the driving experience of this car, especially with the paddles. So, I am really looking forward to today's modification. Look, this is so clean. Car. Alright guys, so we're about to start the install process. I do want to quickly mention that if you're looking for a very in-depth tutorial on how to install this intake, a great place to check that out is Brian's channel over at Keys Motorsports. He does a fantastic job of going into detail on how to install this intake. My version of the installation will be sped up. I'm not going to go into crazy detail, but I am going to show you the before and after and give you my thoughts and my review on the intake. Alright guys, so I have everything laid out here. Anytime that I work on my car and I have new parts, I like to lay everything out and just make sure I'm not missing anything and that I can see everything that comes within the packaging. I quick want to talk about what they did include and what I really enjoy about this intake setup. This is pretty cool. They give you a couple of stickers, even an air freshener, which is a great idea, and a little keychain. Also, the instructions. You'd be surprised with how many companies actually don't send you instructions with car parts. So that's actually kind of it's a big plus. Even though we have YouTube nowadays, it's still important to have the instructions. So let's go through everything real quick here. You have your hardware, your clamps, your silicone hose, all the instructions and stuff, and then we have the heat shield parts, the filter, and the two pipes. I love how MST uses black wrinkle coat for all of their parts. I think it gives the engine bay a very stock, manufactured OEM look, and that's really what I'm going for. It's just overall a cleaner look in the engine bay. So I'm really excited to get this thing installed. Let's start the work now. So for the first part of this, we have to remove this hosing that is in the back right here. It's real simple, it just pops right out. So once you remove that hosing, we have to remove the mass airflow sensor. Mine is right behind the air box, and it's got a white and yellow wire hanging out of it. This is, I believe these are T20s. So you have two T20s that you have to take out of the mass airflow sensor, and then that should just pull out, and you want to set that to the side. My install is a little bit different because I have this front upper strut bar that makes things a little bit more tight. So we're just gonna have to kind of work around all that and sneak our hands in there and make it work. So once you get those T20s loosened up, you're just gonna take that mass airflow sensor out. You're gonna disconnect it from the actual plug itself. I set this aside, and then we'll just let the cable hang here somewhere where it's out of the way. So next we're just going to take a flathead screwdriver and remove the actual clamp on the existing piping that goes into the airbox. You just want to get to the point where it's loose enough so you can pull it off the actual airbox. So next we're just going to go ahead and pull these little grommets off of the actual mounts. There's 3 of them. And you'll see that sometimes they just get left behind. We're going to reuse those, so not a big deal. Now you'll notice that in some other videos they talk about a vacuum line. My car actually does not use that vacuum line in the intake, so we disregard all that. How massive this thing is. Gosh. And actually while I'm in here, you know what, I'm gonna clean some of this stuff up because you can really get in there and get some of that nastiness off that you could never reach before. That'll help me sleep better at night. So next we have another clamp we need to take out, which is going to be clamped tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. And then on the other side there's just a little plastic clamp that you just hang on. And then this should, and it should just come right out. All right, so the next part, we're just gonna take this J pipe that they have here and we're gonna slide it directly into the old piping and make sure that the end part is coming straight up. So on these clamps, you can use a flathead, but I always found it easier to use socket, and I just feel like it's a lot easier to get it nice and tight and access it, especially when it's in these tighter areas. The socket that I'm using is a 7mm. All right, so once we get the box in there, we're just gonna go ahead and tighten these bolts. So next we just need to connect the coupler piece to the rest of the tubing. You slide it on, you want to make sure you have enough room on there so that the clamp is actually clamping down enough tubing. Let's go ahead and tighten that on. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put the mass airflow sensor on this piping before I put it in the car. It's just a little bit easier to access it when it's out of the car rather than trying to sneak my hands in there and do it while it's in the car. So for this next part, we're just going to take this part of the tubing and connect it to the bottom piping that we have down here, and this part is going to go through here. So we'll fasten this through here first. And our way onto this tube here. Bada-bing, bada-boom. Now once we have the intake piping in and we like where it is sitting, we're going to go ahead and take our 8mm and just tighten down those clamps that we have on the pipes. So then we got to put this what do you, like a bolt with like a rubber part, kind of like a bolt with a big rubber washer on it. It's going to go in between the intake bracket and the actual intake itself. We'll go ahead and this is a 10mm nut on this side. Now we're going to take the other screw piece that goes into the other side of that rubber washer screw, thingamabobber. We're gonna go ahead and fasten that down. Next part, we're gonna take the filter and slide that into the end of the intake. We wanna make sure that when you do slide it in, that this clamp is facing up so you can access it. Just like that. And this one will be a 7mm clamp end. I really like how MST makes this heat shield. It just cleans up the overall look of the intake. And once you finally get it bolted on, it just completes it. I mean, it looks so good. It looks so good in the car. And then just to finish buttoning up, we're gonna take these little 3mm bolts. And the way that these bolts are put together, it's just the bolt, and then there's a lock washer, and then your normal washer underneath that. So anytime I am working on the car, I give it one last look over just to make sure that I didn't leave any tools in here or anything that I might miss. So then I just give it a wipe down real quick after the thing. Make sure it's all clean. Get the fingerprints off here. Man, this intake looks great in here. I'm really digging it. We're about to fire it up. See what it sounds like. Wow. That's all I gotta say is, wow. What a difference. What a difference this intake makes. Like, I'm speechless. It sounds so good. The blow-off valve is super, super, super loud. It sounds amazing. So now we're gonna go for a ride. We're gonna go for a ride now. It sounds so good. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys can hear it like through the GoPro, but dude, it sounds so good. Oh, even on the downshifts, it sounds amazing. It's so sick. It's like it gives it like a really cool, accelerating, it gives this like this suck-in sound and then this like release of air. It just sounds so aggressive. And check out this great little air freshener that I have from MST. It actually smells really good. We got the first neck breaks. These people broke their neck. Well guys, that's the end of the video for today. Huge shout out to Brian over at Keys Motorsports. I can't thank you guys enough for this intake. It sounds and performs exactly how I wanted it to. I'm so happy that I went with the MST. If you guys want to buy your own MST, there's a link down in the description directly to the MST intake that I bought from my car. Make sure you get the proper one for your model engine, and that'll properly end today's video. Thank you guys. Please do subscribe, like the video, comment below, and we'll see you in the next one.